unfolds.
Are you calling for a change at the top of the Republican ticket?
Well, I'm calling for it to be considered. Yes, I think you have to consider a change at the top of the ticket when someone is acting like this, when someone is that lacks intellectual curiosity to take ideas from friends. Just to give you an example, last week on this show, you asked me specifically, do I still support the president? I said that I did. I go on the Bill Maher show, I'm asked, do I still support the president? Yes, I do. However, the racially charged comments, the divisive tweeting, the nonsense coming from the president is not helping the country. And so if you're in a place in your mind where loyal people to you, and again, I was fired 2 years ago. He pointed that out on Twitter, big deal, blah, blah. I do appreciate the president getting the 11 days right, though, by the way. So thank you, Mr. President. But, you know, he's out there doing things, and you're trying to give him advice, but he can't listen to anybody. And if you say something that's 1 or 2 sentences off the mark of his support, and I would tell his loyalists, loyalty is not blind obedience unless you're supporting a demagogue, okay?
Anthony,
and so you don't want to ever be like that in your life.
Anthony, last week when I asked you if you still supported, and the answer was yes. This morning, when I asked you if you're calling for a change at the top of the ticket, you said it should be considered. So are you no longer, as of this morning,
it should
supporting?
Be considered. I'm in a neutral. I'm now in a. I'm a Republican, so I'm not switching parties to support a Democrat. I believe in the values and the policies of the Republican Party, but I'm now neutral on the president.
You're now neutral on the president.
Let's see how he continues to act, and if no, oh, absolutely. You have to get into a neutral position. And
all right, so you are no longer an active. You are no longer, Anthony. I just don't want to pass this by. So you are no longer an active supporter of President Trump in his re-election bid.
Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious from over the weekend. I mean, the guy's actually dissembling a little bit, and he's sounding more and more nonsensical. And, you know, we're sort of anesthetized to it, and people inside are watching, oh, yeah, that's just President Trump, just let him act like that. But, you know, you're fracturing the institutions and all of the things that the country stands for. So that's not worth the economic policies. You know, that's not worth the GDP growth, which, by the way, is slowing down, and the stock market's exactly where it was a year ago. And I do think you have a bigger problem with the trade war than people think. The Fed is not cutting rates if the economy is doing super well.
So, Anthony,
so you got a combination of things now. Yes, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, so the one intervening event over the weekend was you had a Twitter exchange with the president where he criticized you directly. All the other stuff is stuff we've seen from President Trump for years at this point, from when he was before president. So what changed exactly over the last 2 days?
Okay, so you and Allison have often asked me that, and people say, well, okay, where's the red line where you break from your support from somebody? Because remember, loyalty is symmetrical.
Right.
It's not asymmetric. And so what I said to you last week was, geez, this is really polarizing. This is very, very divisive. As a supporter of his, I would caution that we not go in this direction. You brought up stochastic terrorism in our last interview, and I suggested, okay, I can understand how this charged rhetoric coming from the bully pulpit of the presidency could lead to some unintended tragic consequences. And so all I said was, I wish the president would stop doing that. One scintilla of criticism, you get this sort of backlash. And so for me, it's a combination of factors. He's taking one step too far with the racial charging of his rhetoric and his Twitter feed. And you can say, okay, well, the only reason why you're breaking from him now is that he went after you specifically on Twitter. And I'll accept that. I think that, to me, was a big turning point, because I'm looking at that saying, wait a minute, I'm out here supporting him. The guy fired me 2 years ago. I have been super loyal to this guy, super loyal to the president's agenda. But there's something wrong with the guy as a leader if he can't take constructive criticism or advice from people that have been super loyal to him.
Anthony,
so it tells you that there's probably not a lot of listening going on inside the White House, at which point, you know, we have to shine a light on that, and it requires people to be truthful to themselves and truthful to the country over a specific person.
One of the things